Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to another edition of E.W. Jackson for America. I pushed a wrong button and I can't get it closed. So all I can do really, and welcome Instagram audience, all I can do really is hope that it looks like maybe I'm recording as well. All I can do is hope that that everything is the way it's supposed to be. Let me just double check here. Let's see. Let me see it. Let me see if I am on live. It looks like I am just now. So let me see if there's any sound. Things froze up for a second. Wow, how come I can't? Button. Yep. And I can't get it closed. So all I can do really, and well, there we go. Okay, I've double checked. I'm on live. It's terrible. I got a lot of things. Uh-oh. Looks like things just froze up. Okay, well, at any rate, sorry for that little bit of a stutter step there. Okay, I've got to jump on an airplane here for not too long, and I thought about not doing the program, but I've been away from the program so much here lately. I just thought, you know what, let me just do it. In fact, I can't do it tomorrow, but I'm really thinking about trying to do just Instagram. Trying to do just Instagram on Friday anyway. Okay, I see some of my listeners coming on. I was a little bit slow getting on to Instagram because of the little glitch I had, and I'm not sure what the whole external thing. I'm not sure what that means. Actually, I think I do know what it means, but I don't think it's applicable because I think it's a button that you push when I'm live streaming through Zoom or Skype. But at any rate, okay, let's get to it, shall we? Today is Wednesday too. Wow, you know, it feels like Friday. Every time I've got to travel like this, it feels like Friday. Getting some great feedback. If you did not, I got to talk to my staff about this. But if you did not have an opportunity to see my sermon preached at Grace Church on Sunday, I'm getting some great feedback on that message. So I think you can see it at Grace Church. I don't know that you can see it through any of our outlets as yet. But if you go to Grace Church in Maryland Heights, Missouri, or their Facebook page or their YouTube page, I'm sure you'll be able to find it because I know people are seeing it. I'm just not sure, you know, by what the venue is, but I assume I know that it's through their channels, their mechanisms, their social media mechanisms, whatever they're using, because I don't think we posted it anywhere ourselves. But I'm getting good feedback on it, so check it out. And I think it will be a blessing to you. Here's what I really want to start with today. And this is not really a topic I've been putting a lot of time and attention to. But I did talk about Sotomayor recently because she's the Supreme Court Justice who made these in her dissent in the Trump versus U.S. case about whether Trump has presidential immunity, who said he's now a king. And I just thought, man, that is so over the top. That's crazy. And basically, she said that he can assassinate somebody now. He can do this. No, he can't. No, he cannot. There's nothing that gives him any authority to go assassinating people. I said, if you want to talk about that, let's talk about Obama assassinating Anwar al-Awlaki in Yemen. And he was an American citizen. I didn't hear Democrats raising a stink. Oh, you can't do that. He's an American citizen. Did you? I didn't hear it. I did not hear it. And I said it, and it was an issue worthy of debate. And I really thought about that for a second. You know, do we want presidents in a position of killing American citizens, but for any reason? Well, no, but when they become enemy combatants and they take to the battlefield to kill Americans and to undermine our country, at that point, in my view, they have de facto renounced their citizenship, and they are no longer citizens of the United States of America. For all practical purposes, they are simply enemy combatants subject to be killed the way any other enemy combatant would be killed or captured. And this guy was helping to plot vicious attacks against Americans and against our country. So he had to go. I said, that's the one thing. I think that may be the only thing I can think of that I agree with Barack Obama on. Well, and killing Osama bin Laden obviously would be another one. Wow, even a broken clock tells the right time once a day if it's mechanical, once a day if it's, twice a day if it's mechanical, once a day if it's digital and it has the AM or PM frozen. So yeah, make those little distinctions there. But just because it shows the right time sometime doesn't mean it's working. And that's Barack Obama. He did those are two things that he did that I agree with, but I can't think of anything else. Anyway, Sotomayor. I'm realizing now, I guess I should have realized it before, but this woman is an over-the-top, irrational leftist. She should not be on the Supreme Court at all. Those things that she said about President Trump's power now are just, they are utterly ridiculous and beneath the dignity of a Supreme Court justice. I mean, just make an argument why you think that that there should be no immunity for a president, which I think is ridiculous because, again, these justices have immunity, or why you think the immunity should be more narrowly drawn. Okay, I'm willing to hear you out on that. But he's a dictator now. He can kill people now. He can do, I mean, that's just ridiculous. Well, it turns out she's not only off on that, and I didn't hear this in the news. Did you? But apparently, not too long ago, she had an incident in which someone tried to carjack, or actually, I guess, steal her car. It was about 1 a.m., and somebody was trying to steal her car from her home, apparently. And, of course, a U.S. Marshal was assigned to protect her. And the U.S. Marshal intervened. The guy pulled a gun on the U.S. Marshal, and the U.S. Marshal shot him. Now, he didn't die, but he shot him. This occurred right outside of Sotomayor's home. And this was recently. Let me see if we've got the date here. But this was fairly recently. So she's got an armed guard protecting her. And when someone tried to steal her car, that armed guard, a U.S. Marshal in this case, drew down on this guy after actually the guy pulled the gun on the U.S. Marshal. The U.S. Marshal responded by pulling his weapon and shot the guy. Now, here's what I want to know. Is Sotomayor prepared to say that that Marshal should not have a weapon to protect her because she doesn't want you and me to have weapons to protect ourselves? You see the hypocrisy? You would think that in light of that, she would rethink her position and say, well, you know, what if I weren't a Supreme Court justice and somebody was doing that and this person has a gun and I encounter them? Shouldn't I have the ability to defend myself? Shouldn't I have the ability to have a firearm? Shouldn't I have the ability to have him outgunned? I mean, if he's got a semi-automatic pistol, what's wrong with me having an AR-15? If he's got a revolver, what's wrong with me having a high-capacity magazine semi-automatic pistol? Do I want to just be able to match him, or do I want to be able to outgun him? But she believes, she and Breyer, and Breyer's gone, and Ginsburg all said, quote, I find nothing in the Second Amendment's text, history, or underlying rationale that could warrant characterizing it as a fundamental right insofar as it seeks to protect the keeping and bearing of arms for private self-defense purposes. Why isn't the ability to defend yourself a fundamental right? But you see the thinking of these folks? They do not believe that self-defense is a fundamental right. And for those of you who are versed in constitutional analysis, the notion is when you are dealing with a fundamental right, any attempt to restrict that right requires the court's strict scrutiny. In other words, the court has to look at it very, very carefully, and there has to be a compelling government interest, and the restriction or the regulation has to be very narrowly tailored. In other words, tailored in the most narrow possible way, because you're messing with a fundamental right, like our right to freedom of speech. The government can't regulate our freedom of speech, and if it tries to do that in certain circumstances, it better have a very, very compelling reason for doing so, and it better restrict it in the most narrow possible way, because that is a fundamental right. What she and these other leftists are saying is, okay, freedom of speech might be fundamental. I don't even know whether they would think that's fundamental. And freedom of religion might be fundamental, but the right to keep and bear arms is not. Well, then why is it in the Constitution? Why did the Founding Fathers make it the Second Amendment? Of course it's fundamental. But, and by the way, fundamental for her when it comes to defending her life. See, this is the hypocrisy that I cannot abide. I really can't. Now, if she said, look, I don't want marshals guarding me to have firearms because I don't really believe in any right to keep and bear arms or any fundamental right. I don't think Americans should have firearms, and therefore I don't want somebody guarding me to have firearms. I think that was stupid, but at least it would be consistent, right? At least you could respect her cogency. You could say, well, she's stupid across the board. But no. Rules for thee, but not for me. Just thought I would share that with you because, again, I said in an earlier program, if these Democrats get their way, they intend to have absolutely unfettered killing of unborn babies, including a baby that was intended to be killed in the mother's womb, escapes the womb alive. They're going to make it legal to kill that baby. And I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't say you can actively kill the baby with an injection or whatever, because that was the original intent. That's essentially what Barack Obama has said. That's essentially what Governor Ralph Northam said. And I think that's where the Democrat Party is right now, morally and ethically. They think that killing an unborn baby is something to be lauded and praised and celebrated. They really do deserve to be called Democrats, because that's demonic. I said that they will undoubtedly give amnesty and citizenship to every illegal alien in this country. If they have the one vote majority and they get rid of the filibuster and they control the House and the Senate and the White House, they will give amnesty, citizenship to every single illegal alien in this country. And then tell them in a whole variety of ways, and don't forget, we're the ones who did it for you, so make sure you vote for us. And I said, I've named other things, but I've said they will undoubtedly restrict our Second Amendment rights. They will outlaw what they consider to be assault weapons. And you think, well, any weapon is an assault weapon if you're going to use it to assault someone, dum-dum. I mean, assault weapons. I mean, an AR-15 is nothing but a rifle with a stylistic frame on it. It's just a rifle, just like any other rifle. They act as if an AR-15 or an AK style weapon is some sort of magical weapon, like, you know, it casts spells or something. It's just a rifle. Now, it is semi-automatic, no different than a semi-automatic pistol. Yes, shoots slightly larger rounds, has a bigger magazine because it's a rifle, But my goodness gracious, I've read stories about, in fact, a couple of them where, kind of like Sotomayor's situation, only in this case, there were about 3 people who were coming to a guy's house to do a home invasion, and they were creeping up around his car, and they were all armed. He stepped out and began to engage them with an AR-15, and guess what? They didn't want to have any part of that. Now, if he had a pistol and all 3 of them had pistols, they might have said, we can outflank him, we can take care of him. But when you got an AR with a magazine that holds at least 30 rounds, you've got a problem. And when you got 3 people coming at you, you need an AR. Well, it certainly wouldn't hurt to have one. But oh, no, it's an assault weapon. It's a weapon of war. Oh, please. I guarantee you, probably in that marshal's car, I guarantee he had one or something like it. I guarantee he probably had an M12 semi-automatic shotgun or something like it. I guarantee you. The very weapons that would be used to protect her that she doesn't want us to be able to use to protect ourselves and our families and our homes. By the way, I didn't intend to tell you this story, but I'll tell it to you anyway now. My wife and I live in a somewhat rural area. You know, we're not right up against our neighbors, so we got a little space around us. And you can't just sort of stumble up on my house walking down the street. I mean, you've got to intentionally come on my property to get to my door. And there is no street parking where we live. There's no street parking. So you can't park on the street and say, oh, I thought you were your next door neighbor, and because there's nowhere to park. You got to come on the neighborhood we live in. You got to come on our property to park, okay? So I don't have people just kind of showing up knocking on the door. And I've got signs up to say, you know, no trespassing, no soliciting. The people who know me and are invited, I'm glad to see them come. But I don't want people coming and knocking on my door. Well, I noticed through our system, a guy knocked on the door, and then when I sort of went to check it out and see what he was gone. And then I saw it happen again, and he was gone. And then one time I heard this knock on the door, and I mean, it was loud, folks. It was loud. I won't bang as loud as he, but it was loud enough and hard enough to startle me. And a couple things went through my mind. I mean, one thing was, that's the way police knock on a door when they're coming to serve an aggressive warrant of some kind. But I could see it wasn't the police, obviously. But it was just boom, 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 boom. So, needless to say, I was alerted. I was alarmed, okay? And I went to the door in a guarded fashion. I think you understand what that means. I didn't go alone. And I don't mean just the angels of the Lord. And God was with me because I know he was too. But so I just kind of cracked the door. And instead of a usual friendly greeting, I said, who are you? Because the way you're coming at my door has got me on alert. And I'm thinking, something's not right here. Oh, I'm an exterminator, and I just came from your neighbor's house. I'm doing some work for your neighbor, blah, 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 blah. I said, well, did you see the signs at the gate that say no trespassing and no soliciting? I came straight from your neighbor's house. I said, well, we're private here. We don't have people come just knock on our door that we don't know, okay? And he got upset. He didn't like it. I mean, you know, oh, I'm sorry if I offended you. I mean, you know, with a real attitude. Young guy, 24, 25 years old. But got to cop the real attitude with me. And then went away. And I thought, well, I felt kind of bad because I figured, well, if this maybe is a friend of my neighbors or something, and I get along great with my neighbors, I don't want them to feel like, you know, I insulted somebody that maybe they sent over. So I made it a point to talk to my neighbors. I called my neighbors. I got their number, called them, said, I just had a guy stop by and said that he was doing some work for you. They said, We don't know who you're talking about. I say, young guy about 6 feet tall. We don't know. We didn't send anybody over there. We don't know anybody. And then they said, we had somebody stop by here, and I think it was a week ago, so, but we didn't even answer the door because we didn't know who he was, and we just said we don't want people coming. They don't have, my neighbors don't have a sign on their property, but they're the same way. We don't know who this guy was, and we just basically said, hey, move on. He was on a scooter. It wasn't in a car, because the first time he knocked, I went to look for a car on my property. There was no car, and I'm thinking, well, what? Like I said, you can't park on the street. We don't have any parking availability. I mean, there are ditches on each side of the road, so there's nowhere to park. Come to find out, this is a scam. They do this stuff for two reasons. One or both of these. One, to case your property, to figure out who's home, what you've got. Because if they get a friendly response, can we come in and do an inspection? We'll do it for you, to give them more money. It's a scam. But guess what else they do? When they do the inspection, in order to get you to hire them, they plant bugs in your house. Now, I don't know whether these folks intended any violence at any point, but I can tell you this. When he walked away, I felt bad, because I thought, well, maybe this is somebody from my neighbor, and I like my neighbors, and I don't want them to feel. And then when they told me, no, it wasn't from us, then I started to have this feeling like, man, I better be on guard. Something's up. This was not good. And had I not gone to the door in a guarded way, or had my wife been home alone and opened that door, bad things might well have happened. And you mean to tell me I don't have a fundamental right to defend myself with a firearm? Are you kidding me? At any rate, I didn't expect to spend that much time on it, but it's worth saying. If Biden were to win, the Democrats were to take over the House, take over the Senate, your First and Second Amendment, but right now we're talking about Second Amendment, your Second Amendment liberties would be severely restricted. And Sotomayor has said, because she doesn't believe it's a fundamental right. And therefore, the government has broad latitude to restrict it. See, because I'm of this opinion, when I cross state lines, my First Amendment rights don't go away. When I cross state lines, my Second Amendment rights don't go away. I travel with protection now because of death threats. And, my protection people are armed. Now, we cross into a state like a New York or California, even professionals, licensed, trained professionals, cannot take a firearm into these states. So that for all practical purposes, and certainly as a regular citizen you can't, so for all practical purposes, your Second Amendment rights end at the state border. Now that's wrong in my view. That's completely and totally wrong. My freedom of travel doesn't end, my freedom of speech doesn't end, my freedom of religion doesn't end, but my Second Amendment rights end at the borders of certain states, or end at the border of Washington, D.C. By the way, I was telling my church this morning, because we have prayer conference calls every morning, and we were on prayer this morning, and I was telling them about this incident because something else has come up as a result. And I was absolutely right once I realized that this guy was lying to me. Then I found out that's what they do. They always tell you, oh, I was doing some work for your neighbor. That's exactly what he said. It was a lie. He wasn't doing any work. My neighbors didn't know who he was. So this is a scam that they develop, and they target certain neighborhoods. I want to say this to you. Be on your guard, because lawlessness really is abounding. It really is. It's sad. It's because, I was telling my church members this morning, there was a time when somebody approached me on the street needing money. I just gave it to them. If I had it, I shared it with them. I'm much more guarded now because you know the games that people are playing. And I had one member say, I was approached 4 or 5 times by the same guy with the same story. He didn't remember having approached me, but I remembered him. He said about the 3rd time I realized, wait a minute. This is about how you scam people, not about really needing help from people. And we as Christians are supposed to be circumspect in this world, not as fools. Just because we're loving and caring and we want to be a blessing to people doesn't mean that we can let anybody take advantage, or that we should let anybody take advantage of us and just do to us whatever they want, and just take our money and what God has given you, you just throw it away for some scam artist who's just using. Oh, and by the way, you know what the member said? The first thing the guy said, didn't I see you at church? Wow, what a line. Didn't I see you at church? Well, what church did you go to? And then that creates a conversation. Oh, well, I go to, lying through his teeth. Listen, can you spot me? Now I got the Christian guard down, right? Can you spot me $10? Because my family and I are in a bad way right now, and I'm just trying to get some food and blah, blah, blah. Just be loving, be generous, but be circumspect, be aware, watch your 6, as they say in the military, you know, because the devil does go about like a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour, whom resist steadfast in the faith. And whatever else you need to resist him, depending upon the circumstances you may find yourself in. Okay, I said yesterday that that was a discussion worthy of having, by the way. I said yesterday that the party platform did not include a pro-life plank. Well, obviously, I'm not the only one who noticed that. And other Christians noticed that. Other pro-lifers noticed that. And were quite upset about it. And they dispatched Senator Marsha Blackburn of Tennessee to say, oh, no, I'm chair of the platform committee. And we do have a provision for life in it. And so they read the provision, because in the 20 primary points of the platform, life is not mentioned, Judeo-Christian values are not mentioned, family is not mentioned, God is not mentioned. So she says, there is one, her words, one short paragraph, she says. And then she reads it. And I guess she was doing this in an interview to try to calm down the natives, the pro-life natives who were saying, wait, why is there no pro-life plank? I pointed this out to you yesterday, and apparently others have picked up on it as well. Maybe they watched my program and picked up on it. But she says, this is a good document. I encourage everybody to read it and then go to work with us as Republicans on your local, state, and federal levels. She said, this platform is dedicated to, quote, the forgotten men and women of America. Well, what about the forgotten children of America, the 638 that have been murdered in the cities of our country? But that's another matter at the moment. Here's what she says. She read the platform, the plank, the paragraph, the short paragraph, which is, it's not one of the top 20 planks, but it's a short paragraph, I guess, in the body of the document. It says, we proudly stand for families and life. We believe that the 14th Amendment to the Constitution of the United States guarantees that no person shall be denied life or liberty without due process, and that the states are therefore free to pass laws protecting those rights. After 51 years, because of us, that power has been given to the state and to a vote of the people. We will oppose late-term abortion while supporting mothers and policies that advance prenatal care, access to birth control, and IVF. Now, I have to tell you, folks, that is a weak statement. It's something, but it's weak. We proudly stand for families and life. We believe the 14th Amendment guarantees that no person. Now, are you saying that a baby is a person? Or are you just excluding unborn babies? Are you saying that an unborn baby is a person, or are you just excluding unborn babies? It's fuzzy. And then she says, the states are therefore free to pass laws protecting those rights. After 51 years, that power has been given to the state and to a vote of the people. We will oppose late-term abortion. Late-term abortion. What about all abortions? We should be opposing them all because they are all the taking of a human life. So it's weak. It's something. It's not nothing, but it's weak. But see, this is why I've said repeatedly, I don't put my hope in the Republican Party. I really don't. Because right there you can see they're trying to straddle the fence. They're trying to make everybody happy. We've got the suburban moms. They are fearful that their reproductive rights will be taken away. Well, it's not reproductive rights. It's the right to not reproduce. It's the right to kill an unborn baby that is already in the process of becoming a fully mature human being. That process starts at the moment of conception. So it's the right not to produce, the right to stop that process, to kill it, to end it. And they call it reproductive rights. Give me a break. I tell you, the Orwellian euphemisms that these people come up with are just astounding. So, look, it's certainly better than the left, who are celebrating killing unborn babies. Whoopee! I think I told you all that I was at a meeting, actually the National Association of Christian Lawmakers, Jason Rapert's organization, a conservative, pro-life Republican from Vermont, I think the only one, as a matter of fact, the only one, if I'm not mistaken, said that every year, until Roe v. Wade was overturned, at least now they can't, but every year they'd have a big celebration on the day that Roe v. Wade was handed down. And it would be a drinking party, and oh man, they would carouse and they would whoop and holler, and you know, actually, this is a religion. This is pagan religion. The shedding of innocent blood offered up to their pagan god. And who is the pagan god it's offered up to? Themselves. They are their own pagan gods. And they offer the blood of innocent children up to themselves and celebrate the shedding of that blood. Now that's the Democrat Party. The Democrat Party is just, as I said, it's the party of Antichrist. Republicans are better, but they ain't nothing to write home about. Because as soon as there's a little heat, man, they run for the high hills. So I'm a Republican at this point by default. I'm certainly never going to be a Democrat. I was, and I ended that scourge. I ended that curse. I came out from underneath that generational curse, that slave curse, that segregation curse, that racist curse that the Democrats operate under with that supercilious, elitist mindset toward black folks and Hispanic folks and women and others who they see as their chattel slaves. Just basically cannon fodder for their thirst for power. That's all. That's all we are to them. They're not interested in your well-being. They're not interested in the well-being of anybody, to say the truth. Just look at how Biden is dealing with the problem of his health and his mental acuity. He's not interested in what this means to the country. He's interested in what it means for him and Hunter and Jill, these power-mad people who will do anything to get power and keep it, which is exactly the mantra of the Democrat Party today. Anything to get it and keep it. Now, here's the sad thing. There are a lot of Republicans who are the same way. So that's why I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, yeah, the Republican Party is the greatest thing since sliced bread. No, it's not. but it's certainly better than the Democrat cabal by several orders of magnitude. At least the platform, the 20 planks of the platform, I said I can agree with all of those. This little weak statement about life, it's better than celebrating death. So I'm remaining a Republican because I've got friends who are Republicans and they're Christians and they love the Lord and they see it as the best hope they have of affecting and protecting the Judeo-Christian culture and heritage and values of our nation. And I agree with that. It's the best hope we have. I don't know that it's much hope, but it's the best hope we have. From a practical political perspective, obviously the ultimate hope we have is in Christ Jesus. The ultimate hope we have is in an awakening, a revival, an outbreak of just Holy Ghost fire and power in this nation. You know the old song, my hope is built on nothing less than Jesus' blood and righteousness. I dare not trust the sweetest frame, but wholly lean on Jesus' name, on Christ, the solid rock I stand. All other ground is sinking sand. And look, that's, again, I intend to get it, but that's why I can support Donald Trump without apology or equivocation. I know Donald Trump's not God. Donald Trump's not Jesus. Donald Trump is a flawed human being. But, just like that Republican platform, phew, man, compared to the alternative, there is no comparison. See, if Jesus were on the ballot, yeah, I'd vote for Jesus. He's not. Donald Trump is. And so from my perspective, it's voting for a man who is really the personification of evil, Joe Biden, because the left has captured him, or maybe he was always captured by them, I don't know. But he's the personification of evil. Anytime you go to a baby-killing factory and you make the sign of the cross, like you think God's going to bless the shedding of innocent blood, you've got to be out of your mind. So Donald Trump, I know, is inclined to protect the lives of those unborn babies. He's kind of like the Republican platform. He's playing it. He's playing a little politics with it because the Republicans are afraid of it. They're afraid of the issue of abortion. They're afraid of the issue of life. But Donald Trump has said, if he's elected, all those people who've been locked up for protesting at these baby-killing factories, all those people, he said he's going to see to it that they're released. Pardon them. Send them home. 75-year-old women being put in jail for 2 years because they tried to stop somebody from killing an unborn baby. And you got rapists and robbers and murderers and illegal alien invaders roaming the streets of our country, getting away with almost anything. It's a travesty. So for me, it's not a hard choice. It's an easy one. And the best hope we have of saving this country right now, from a practical political standpoint, is Donald Trump. The best hope we have. By the way, you know, the interesting thing is, too, the best hope we have of uniting this country across racial and cultural lines right now, aside from Stand and yours truly, which was dedicated to that. We don't have quite the platform that Donald Trump has, needless to say. But Donald Trump is the best hope we have, because I really believe that Donald Trump, in spite of all the things that are said against him and all the stuff about him being racist, I really believe Donald Trump cares about every American. I don't think he cares the color of the skin of those Americans. I think he wants every American to experience the best life we can in this great country of ours. That's what the man's policies have shown me. Forget about his rhetoric, because Donald Trump he's a firebrand. I think he sometimes intentionally says things that are controversial just to stir the pot. I don't care about that. I care about what he does. And Donald Trump gave us 3 Supreme Court justices, all pro-life, who ended up overturning Roe v. Wade. Donald Trump gave us Jerusalem as the capital, the undivided capital of Israel, recognized by the United States of America as such. Republicans and Democrats gave lip service to it, but never did it. Donald Trump did it. Yeah, what we've got right now is an abomination. And I really believe that Donald Trump is going to be used by Almighty God to set this nation on a track that is pleasing to God. I really believe that. Will it be 100%? No, because nothing is. But I'll tell you what, I'd rather it be 75, 80, 90% than it to be in the negative numbers, which is what Joe Biden is going to do to us. Has done, will continue to do. We have 1.5% growth and about 3% inflation. That means we're in a negative growth period right now in our country. We're declining economically, not increasing. I know you got a few stocks that are really blowing it out, a few big tech stocks that are really blowing it out, but most of the market is flat or diminishing. Values, most of the values in the stock market are flat or diminishing. And they want to brag about how great a job he's done. I mean, do they really? Well, I don't know whether they really think we're that stupid, or they think they can cheat their way into an election and it doesn't care what we think. It doesn't care. They don't care whether we're stupid or not, whether we buy it or not. They just think they can cheat their way into an election. They can lie their way into an election. They can fraud their way into an election. And in the end, what does it matter? Because then they impose on us whatever they want. Here's another thing that I did want to mention. And then this goes to this issue of their attitude toward us. Biden is going to give temporary amnesty to 4,000 Yemen nationals. And of course, we know that Yemen is a hotbed of terrorism, of Islamic terror. And Biden is going to give 4,000 Yemen nationals the right to remain in the United States, what he calls temporary amnesty. How many of you think that will actually be temporary? I see no hands going up because we're not that dumb. He's bringing in terrorists, MS-13 gang members, Venezuelan gang members, Chinese nationals. If you came up with a plan to undermine the sovereignty and the stability of the United States of America, you couldn't come up with a better one than the one that Joe Biden is implementing. With all the problems we've got, he's going to add 4,000 Yemens to the process. With all the problems with crime, with gangs, with drugs, with human trafficking, with fentanyl killing our people, he's going to add Yemen nationals to the process. Say, well, these are probably people who will love America. Oh, you mean like Ilhan Omar, the Somalian national, and the people that she leads who escaped death, torture, chaos in Somalia, only to come to our country and denounce the nation and tell the world that they're here to pursue the interests of Somalia, not here to enjoy the blessings of being Americans? I mean, like that? And I'm not saying every Somalian thinks that way, but clearly a lot of them do. And you know what? That's going to end it. I was going to go to something else, but I'm going to stop there. I got to get on an airplane here in a few hours, and I need to go off and do some things to get myself ready for that. In fact, I got to pack. I'm not speaking anywhere this weekend. I'm going to be going to a series of meetings down in Nashville, Tennessee. So if you're in the Nashville area, maybe I'll run into you. In the meantime, folks, listen, we are happy warriors. We don't hate anybody. We love everybody, but we are fighters. We are warriors. We're not apologizing for that. We're not playing games. This is for the future of our country, and we are going to fight for it with every available tool at our disposal that is peaceful. And we're going to be peaceful, but we're going to be aggressive. So you stand up, step up, speak up, refuse to back up. Because we cannot be defeated if we will not quit. Because we are on God's side. God bless everybody.